I'm always interested in the role of perverse incentives within roles. And what I mean by that, the classic is we talk a big game about wanting to encourage team-like behaviour, but all the incentives within the roles, whether they be commission, whether they be bonuses, whatever, are based around individual performance and come at the cost of others. Any thoughts on that space, how to best incentivise people?
You need to look at it on three levels. Organisationally, what are our goals? Where are we heading? Team, what are our goals? Where are we heading? And individual. And they should all be in alignment. And they should all be rewarded. This comes up in psychosocial hazards too, with inadequate reward and recognition. And one of the classic examples in that space are real estate agencies where they have very individualised rewards, where there's competition to be the top dog. So as a result, people are not motivated to actually support each other or to work as a team often. It's very much about me. And so that can be costly at organisational and team level and can actually create a psychologically unsafe work environment.
What do you do about that?
Well, again, you redesign the reward systems. The more that organisations can be transparent about business performance, business financial performance, the better. And there's lots of business owners that are very uncomfortable with disclosing how much money they're making, but it really is an aid to getting engagement if the employer is fairly distributing the returns that they're getting and recognising people appropriately and recognising teams appropriately, then that's the most powerful way to do it, that level of transparency. It may be that can be done through a notional, we'll allocate X percentage of our profits to this without disclosing an actual number. I mean, there are different ways to do it, but to say, here's a pool of money, if I say I've got $100,000 in bonuses that's going to come up, 50,000 is going to go to teams and 50,000 is going to go to individuals, and we'll distribute it up based on performance.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be complex, does it? You've used the word rewards a few times, and I sense that you don't mean just money.
No, reward is recognition as much as anything. It's the little thank yous. What's really important is that people are given the context of recognition. So, for example, I've had bosses who've said to me, or I've had clients who've said to me, thank you, that was great. And I've walked away and thought, I don't know what was great about it. I was just doing what I do. There was nothing, didn't think there was anything special about it. Whereas if you say, and this is where strengths can be useful again, hey, I love the presentation you gave. The way you were creative with what you did with those numbers was awesome. Let's have a conversation about how we do more of that. Now that gives a totally different message, doesn't it?
Without a doubt. If I could dive further on that one, something I see at an individual level all the time is particularly conscientious people who are a little introspective or on the, let's call it the quieter side of things, the quiet achievers, often minimize their own strengths because it comes naturally to them, and they're not the best at taking compliments at times. What do you do with a situation like that in terms of recognition?
It's a lesson that I learned recently, actually, and it was a LinkedIn post that prompted it, where I realised that I'd actually, and it was at a lunch I was at, where people had given me feedback about something they valued that I did, and I sort of dismissed it. And then I read this blog, which was about what messages you're actually sending when you do that. And it made me think about it, and yes, I disrespected the person who was giving me the compliment by dismissing it. So, and you don't want to discourage those behaviours. So it's a mental note for me in my personal development plan that, hey, I've got to make sure I don't do that anymore, that I at least say thank you and just leave it at that. If I don't want to do anything more with it, just do that. One of the things you can do with people who might be like that is to encourage them to recognise others, to build it into their personal practice with other people, and that can help create a bridge to them.
I like where you're going with this. So what would that look like on a day-to-day basis?
It might be, for example, that you've got a group of managers together in a meeting, and you know one of them has done something really good that someone else has spoken about to you, and you encourage them then to acknowledge that. You know, it might be, hey, Harry, you were telling me the other day that Joe did this and it made a real difference to you. Do you want to talk a bit more about that? You know, see if we can learn from it. And it can also be about adopting gratitude practice. I saw this in action with an organisation that I did a cultural assessment on many years ago. And I went into the workplace in the morning, and I was only there a short time, and I heard the Beatles song "Come Together" come blaring over the radio, and everybody came together in this in the one room. And this they do every morning. So, and what they do is say, okay, what are we grateful for from yesterday, everyone? What are the positives? And there was a pat on the back and whatever else that went on there. And then were there any struggles and anything anybody needs any help with? And what have you got on today? It took them 5 minutes. But it really got people focused. They were fostering that culture of gratitude and acknowledgement of people for doing good things. And, you know, it works.